And yeah, thank you. So I think first let us, this is a little bit, it's a heavy topic is what I would like to say before we start on. And so let us just take a few seconds to bring ourselves here. I know we have come here from something, like we were doing something and then we are here in the session. So maybe we can just try and observe our breathing, and if possible, put our right hand between the chest and the belly and see how our breath rises and falls. Maybe 5 to 6 breaths, and feel our feet or our body touching the surface. Remind ourselves why we are here. What do we intend to take away from this session? And bring ourselves here. Let's take a few more deep breaths. If you want, you may also close your eyes. Give me a thumbs up if all of you are ready. Then we'll start. Okay. Good. You've got some thumbs up, I guess. Okay, anyways, I can't see it. But we'll start. So what we'll try to understand is three separate branches in the light of developmental needs. One is the developmental psychology, one is neuroscience, and the other is anthroposophy, which is also known as practical spirituality. And what we need to understand is that these are all subjects where you can actually spend years learning to become an expert. We are not here to become an expert. We are here to understand how the knowledge that is there lying all around in today's day and time, how that knowledge can be implemented into actions as parents, right? So first we'll touch the neuroscience part of it. What neuroscience says is that brain is built bottom up, which means the complex part, the thinking, the intellectualization, the following of instructions, all these things are built on the foundations of sensory and motor skills. So in the first 7 years, the brain is very busy focusing on building this sensory and motor skills, on the foundation of which the intellectual thinking will start happening. And that is very important for us to understand, because if we don't, we will end up including intellectual uh, elements into our child's environment unknowingly. Like, and it's very evident that a child is not intellectually developed to do so many things. For instance, uh, we sometimes ask our children that they have done something and we are telling them not to do. And we are asking, why are you doing it? And you will never get an answer out of that because they do not know why are they doing it, right? Then when it comes to regulating themselves, so neuroscience says that a child is not capable of regulating themselves. Like if a child goes into meltdown, and many a times, and it became a fad in between that we tell the child to calm down, we tell them, we send them into this corner and tell them that you sit down and you calm down, then you come to me. It might work after a few trials, but it will not work bottom up. So the child will learn that my feelings are not, they also, the child will learn that I am not being helped here. So they will start shutting down, which have repercussions later. So the complex things like these, they come later. What comes first? The sensory skills. Basically anything related to the body. So in the first 7 years, anything related to the body is developing. So the taste, the balance, the strength, the organs, and that's why anthroposophy. So I'm probably going to mix up a bit, although the slides are, they are bifurcated into groups, but it's very important that we understand the connection. So what anthroposophy says is that the internal organs and the body develops in the first 7 years, and for that some amount, for that the energy that is there in the child's body should be expended. Now if we take that energy out of the bodily development and try to put intellectual elements into the children too early, it actually stifles their growth and development. The internal organs, the body does not develop, although they might, I'm not saying that they won't grow in height, they won't gain weight, they might, but something gets compromised internally, which show up later, not immediately, sometimes immediately also, we do not know, because body is a mystery. People are learning things every day, like what is happening inside, this is a mystery. So neuroscience also says the same thing, that the first few years it's the sensory motor skills, the language does not mean the child has to be very uh, child needs to be pushed into learning various languages. Now when, so this is where our society goes wrong, is when I say that a child can learn language, should learn a lot of language, we'll say, okay, then should I enroll for a different language course, like French or Spanish? There are courses these days even for 3 years old. I'm surprised. It's not like that. It's about, language is also, it's a form of expression. So the child needs to learn expression. And how do they learn? They learn by seeing, they learn by how the adults around them basically talk. So if your family is a bilingual or a multilingual family, the child will pick up the languages very easily. And that's the way languages should be learned in the first 7 years, not an instruction basis, not like, this is a car and it's a voiture en France and something like that. So these are the things, nuances that we need to understand. The simple architectures first, which means all sorts of sensory exploration, playing with water, playing with mud, playing with natural items, and movement, a lot of movement, a variety of movement, exploring the body as much as the child can. And that actually helps in development of the neural circuitry. Uh, Timing matters. Critical window is something like, I'm going to talk about something like, serve and return. There is a concept in psychology. So the critical window for that is 0 to 3 years. It matters later also. It matters throughout the lifetime. But 0 to 3 years is the time when it matters the most. 0 to 7 years is the time when the body develops the most in a very holistic way. Can we not, is it like if we miss out on these windows, is it like a total mess up? No, it's not. I mean, our bodies are incredibly gifted, our mind, our brains, everything is very plastic, we can still develop. But once we help the development in the critical window, it helps the child to focus on the actual development in the next window. So if the body is developed well, if the sensory and the motor skills are developed well in the 0 to 7 years, the intellectualization part develops better in the next window, and so on and so forth. Uh, this thing is very important, that developmental neuroscience reveals that brain is not finished at birth. So previously we used to think that a child is born with a certain amount of intelligence. uh, we try to label children intelligent, smart, uh, things like that, shy. Yes, we are born with certain. So now the epigenetics has proved that we are not, it is not like a, like written on stone that if we are born smart, we are born some way. We are born with certain kinds of genetic probabilities, the expression of which depends on the environment. So genetic expression, for instance, I'll simplify it. For instance, let's say I'm predisposed to diabetes, to developing diabetes. Now, if I give my body the environment to develop diabetes, poor sleep, poor diet, poor lifestyle choices, over time, my body will develop diabetes because it is already predisposed. But if I do not give that environment, my body will not. Similarly, a child, could be born with, let's say, a trait of anxiety. Okay. But if we do not give that environment, that expression will not happen. And it's not just in the negative case, it happens in the positive cases also. So previously, what this materialistic, deterministic, way of looking at the world the scientists used to tell that nature is what determines things, right? But slowly we have understood that it's neither nature, its counterpart is nurture. So it is not 100% nature, it is not 100% nurture. It is basically nurture the nature, and then you can help the child develop into what the child is born with. So the whole thing is sculpted by the experience. So that's why the first 7 years is the critical window for development of the worldview. Uh, there is a very nice way. There's a book on cellular biology. I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, I can share in the group. So it's the author says that the first 7 years is the downloading the software. When we buy a laptop or a computer, we download the software first for the software to run things, right? So first 7 years is when the software gets downloaded. What is the software? The software is basically the world view. Is it a safe place? Am I competent? uh, is failure, is it okay to make mistakes? Am I loved? Am I accepted? All those things, the foundation of all those belief systems, they start forming in these years, and they run the show for the next many many years. So that's why when you are going, I mean, if any of you happen to take any therapy or counseling, uh, most of the times the therapist will ask you, how was your childhood? Because this is where the key lies, whatever we are today. So that's where the timing matters, and that's where the nurture matters. And this is the time when the brain is very plastic. Our brains are plastic till till quite late, like 70, 75 as well. But 0 to 7 years is when the brain is its highest plastic self. Now this is an opportunity, because you can actually help your child develop that worldview which will help them thrive, like growth mindset, and having the belief in themselves, and resilience, and whatnot, like everything. Now I'll come to the fun part of it. How all these things, they cannot be learned by instruction. You cannot teach resilience, you cannot teach belief in the self by instructions, right? So that's a different part. But plasticity, it works both ways. When it is an opportunity, it is also a vulnerability. Something, if it goes wrong in these years, it's not a death knell, but it will impact the life. And that is true for us also. So if whatever we have gone through in our childhoods, it has impacted us. If we have not done any work on ourselves, it is still impacting us. It could be positive or negative. All right. So this is the serve and return. So this is something very important, and particularly if you have a child younger than 3 years, this is very, very important. So when a child reaches out, the caregiver has to be present and return. Return the gesture. Could be anything. Could be mimicking. Could be saying something aloud. Just talking. Just helping that there is a back and forth happening between the child and the caregiver. It calms the child down and puts the child in its default state of, children come into this world, they want to learn. They are hungry for learning. So it puts them into that default state of trying to learn. And it has actually done it. The studies show that it can do wonders for brain development. Now, why it is important for us to uh, know? What happens is there are so many in between it happened. I do not know how much people are affected right now, but there were some people who came out with this theory, particularly in the West, that we should let children cry. It is not good to uh, you know always answer the child's cries, but all those things, they are not true. uh, and it is very important that we give the child importance. What happens is when the child is not getting the attention that he or she asks for, it basically puts the child uh, in a stress response. So the cortisol floods the whole body. It's a tiny body, and that that actually impacts the child's growth. And the child, obviously, the child cannot tell you, and it cannot calm itself down. So it's not a good place to be in. So it's very important that we always try to uh, respond to our children. And first 3 years is very important. After that also it is very important. But maybe a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, if the first 3 years have gone right, the 5-year-old, 4-year-old would not let you sit and not respond to them. If you have a 5 or 4-year-old or a 6-year-old, you would know. They wouldn't make you listen to you. So then the game becomes a little different, and the way serve and return happens also changes over the years. Like 0 to 3, the way you do serve and return is not how you will be doing serve and return for 3 to 6, 6 to 9. It changes. Like for us, my son will be 6 very soon. So we actually have started having meaningful conversations. We wander together, we think together, there are problem solvings happening. So these are the things that happen between 6 to 9. And 0 to 6 was different. So it changes. And if you are attuned to this experience, you will know there's no fixed way to do this. It's just your intuition. We are parents. Actually, nature has wired us to do this. It's just we have to be able to listen. So, sorry. Huh. Attachment is one more thing. I think if you have been seeking knowledge in the early childhood spectrum, you probably have come across this term. So, secure attachment is all what we should strive. Because it basically, again, that worldview development, right? If my attachment, secure attachment with my primary caregiver, if my attachment is secure with my primary caregiver, my worldview is shaped around that. I know that the world is safe. And if the world is safe, I have free energy to explore the world and learn organically. If I find the world is not safe, if that is the noise that I have at the back of my head, I will be scared and I will not be able to learn. I will start I will start becoming hyperactive. ADHD, we call these days, right? It's not a disorder, by the way. So yeah, so we start acting differently because we don't feel safe. Safety, security is primary requirement for creation and exploration, and it's equally true for us adults. Like if we do not feel safe and secure in overall spectrum of our lives, we will not be able to live a life that is where we can create and explore freely. We will always be driven by some kind of fear, some kind of insecurity, and stuff like that. So, secure attachment comes by being present. Again, those being present in the first 3 years is serve and return. Being present is, be with the child. These days, we have the phone always, right? We have the phone, we have the laptops, and we have work spreading all over the place. So all those things, they are, I know, I mean, even I face all these problems, but we should at least know that, this is something that can act in a way which probably it's not desired by me. And then if we are aware of it, we can navigate around it. And it's okay to falter. It's okay. Like, I'm not saying that please don't be hard on yourself. We cannot be perfect parents, but we can strive to give our children what is required. And so it is important to know that secure attachment, forming a secure attachment with the primary caregiver, is key to a healthy brain development. That is what we should be knowing. And either here I have written parents, but it's not just parents. Basically, it's the caregiver. Who is the primary caregiver? So it could be, in today's day and time, it could be, the grandparents, it could be the nanny, with whom the child spends 8 to 10 hours, waking hours in a day. And it could be the mother or the father who is taking care of the child. So the attachment, we all have our attachment styles. There are 4 or 5 attachment styles: secure, insecure, avoidant, mixed, confused, all those things. So our attachment styles impacts our children. If I have an insecure attachment, it will be very difficult for me to form a secure attachment with my child. And that's where, all the inner work as a parent comes into the picture. So anthroposophy puts a lot of importance on doing inner work, on reflection, on understanding the self, on understanding our triggers, our reactions, because what we are is only will be reflected back into our children. So, and I think that's a very good motivator for parents to heal themselves. If not anything else, if not for ourselves, I think many of us would be motivated to maybe start somewhere doing that work on ourselves. So the relationship in the first 7 years, there is no curriculum. It's the relationship. Why the relationship is the curriculum? Because children learn in the first 7 years, children learn only through imitation and example. They do not learn through instruction. So, and they are watching very closely. Their observation is very, very powerful, way powerful compared to ours at this point. So it's very important that we understand that the relationship with the primary caregiver is actually the curriculum. So what the primary caregiver lives and believes and uh, kind of habits, his or her habits, everything becomes the starting point of learning for the child. School is not where learning begins. Learning begins in that relationship, basically. Okay. So this is anthroposophy. And so even like neuroscience said that the development happens in phases. Steiner also postulated that the development of a human being. So this is a very profound topic. I will try to be as crisp as possible. So Steiner says that all our human beings, we have basically we are three folded. So we have 3 aspects to our existence. One is the doing, the action part. The other is the feeling, and the third is the thinking, the brain part. So these days you might be hearing a lot of mind body connection, right? So it is basically the same thing. So we have the mind, we have the body. Mind is the thinking, body is the doing, and soul and the heart is the feeling. And everything is very much entangled. Even the 7 chakras in our own in our very own history, or in our spirituality, the eastern side, the Hindu spirituality is all evolved, like revolving around these concepts only. So for the first 7 years, as I said, that the body is developing. And when the body is developing, what exactly is developing? It's the will forces, the doing forces. So that's why children between 0 to 7, they keep on doing things. And they do where you can see that there is no thinking. Today only I was speaking to a mother in the park, and she was her daughter was climbing the slide opposite side, and she was scared because she is thinking, right, that she might fall. But the child is not thinking. The child is has this intense urge to experience the body. What happens if I climb like this? Now Steiner says that 0 to 7 years is the time when the child is a whole sense organ, when there is no difference between the sense organs as we know it. Like, that's why you will see very young children, like even up to even my son is about to 6, he still does that, puts things into the mouth. Now some of it could be bad habit, like for my son probably it is going to a point where it's just a bad habit. But 0 to 3 years, 0 to 4 years, everything goes into the mouth. My nephew, I speak to him on calls, and anything. The other day there was a plate in front of him and he put it into the mouth, and immediately he felt that it's hard and he made a face. But we are like, what are you doing? Don't do it, don't do it. But they are trying to understand what is this. And that's how they do it. They are trying to experience everything through their whole body. Something which might be very difficult for us to even envision. But it's just as a fact, we should know. And I'm not asking you to just blindly accept it. You should observe your child. How do they do things? They typically do not think. That's why children very young will try to touch the fire. They will uh, probably run at a speed where you feel that they probably, but what they're doing is they're just trying to see how much can I do and what is it that happens. So the first 7 years, and through this Steiner says that when we let the willing forces to develop properly. Now, willpower is something that shows up later in life, right? When we face our challenges, when we have to do something, and adulting is not an easy journey, all of us probably would agree. That's when this willpower shows up. That's when some of us give up, some of us don't give up. There's a difference. And probably it can be traced back to the early years. So it's very interesting. So Steiner says that when a child is climbing a tree, his will forces are getting shaped to climb something, a challenge up, 30 years later. So it's very interesting. So this is what the first 7 years are for, developing the doing forces. Now, Maria Montessori talks about something called absorbent mind. So she says that if you see a child is absorbed in doing something, do not disturb him or her until the child comes out of it on his or her on his or her own, because they are absorbed in it. And for us it could be a little difficult, and you will see that children typically get absorbed in things that we do not approve of. For instance, playing with mud, playing with water, putting colors everywhere. So but that is exactly what we have to recalibrate our expectations to help our children grow. And this was actually a revelation for me when I came to know about it. And I hope it makes you think in a certain way. Um, yeah, so 0 to 7 is, so 0 to 7 are guided by certain pillars. Uh, so, primarily is a sense organ. The child is in this phase is primarily a sense organ, taking in the world through physical experience and absorbing everything. The way we speak around, the way we speak to others, the way we speak to ourselves when we make a mistake, the way we speak to our partners, uh, the way we react to a challenge, let's say a sudden change in travel plans, or something, all of a sudden there's a deadline that got pushed. All of these things, they are being absorbed. uh, and obviously, or whatever is there in the physical environment, that also gets absorbed. So that's why both Montessori and Waldorf says that put as much as natural materials in the environment as much as possible. uh, Let the children, they say, in fact, they let the children play. Waldorf says that you should let the children play in nature as much as possible. Waldorf schools outside of India, they are like in the forest and all. But I know we don't live in forest. We have small balconies, but we can make the best of it. We can put natural materials. We can, instead of plastic toys, we can choose wooden toys. Uh, we can take children out wherever there is a little bit of nature in and around to help establish that connection. And free unstructured play. So play itself is a topic. I conduct master classes on this, that what is play in the early 7 years. uh, there we do not understand play because there is a lot of noise. There's a lot of toys, there's a lot of noise. So basically play is very simple. We should, anything is a toy for a child. We do not need fancy toys for children. But sometimes we have to, some toys are okay, but not too many of it. And first 7 years is for free unstructured play. There should be no instruction. Puzzles are, often like, we call this open-ended play or open-ended toys, where the toys do not have any meaning, but your child gives meaning to the toys or the play. Rhythm, we conducted one session in this circle on rhythm, how to build rhythm through the day. That is also very important because it helps the child ground, because it gives a sense of knowingness that, okay, I know what comes after this. When we have erratic schedule, that actually affects, puts the child into stress, and that can show up as meltdown tantrums. And we might even things like, one day the child from if you pick up the child from school, one day you are putting the child into daycare, one day she's coming back home, the other day she's going to nani's place. Now you might think that, every all of these environments are known environment for the child, but that's not okay. It's not okay, particularly in the early years, up to 5 years. After 5 years, you can probably tell the child that, okay, tomorrow you are going here, tomorrow, and they might resist also. You will see that coming in, that I don't want to go. But before that, it is the children do not even have a sense of time. So they do not know tomorrow as we know tomorrow. They do not know an hour as we know an hour. When we say you are going tomorrow, it does not make any sense to them, basically. So even changes like that affects children. So we should be able to build rhythms in the day, in the week. Festivals is actually seasonal rhythm. So we know that Diwali will come next year, Christmas will come next year. That also gives a sense of grounding. Natural materials, as I said. Uh, Waldorf says that, not Waldorf, like Waldorf, when Waldorf was conceived, these things were not there. But Waldorf experts say that even like we have these sensory books where you have a plastic grass, you have some felt, you have some cotton. Those are not good. If you have to experience grass, you should experience grass as grass is, right? For fabrics, we have a ton of fabrics lying at home. So we do not need these fancy toys. We do not need those uh, black and white flashcards. We do not need flashcards at all. There's a book, Einstein did not use flashcards or read flashcards, whatever. So yeah. So all those fancy things are not required. And this is what imitation and example. The child, because the child has no other way to learn, right? They will learn from us. And I think that is a very like, it depends on how we take it, how we take this information as. But that again gives us a lot of, should give us a lot of motivation to start and be worthy of that role modeling. Someone is looking up to us, and this looking up to will stay up to 10 years. After that, the child will, they will start looking around and they will know, okay, our parents are not perfect. It's And then the role models will also change, and you do not have any control who those role models are going to be. It could be it could be even a peer. And if it's a peer, God help us, because that's a different ballgame altogether. It could be a teacher. It could be someone, some public figure, some celebrity. But changes. But up till 10 years, they are looking at us. And then, we should try and do things the way, like good habits. If we want our children to eat healthy, we should be eating healthy. If we want them to understand that taking care of our bodies are important, we should show them that we exercise. Not show them, like we should exercise. We should also have a rhythm to our day. The first point, when people ask me, like many people ask me after the first session on rhythm, that how do I set a rhythm for my child? Like first point is to set a rhythm for ourselves. And then with that, the rhythm of the child will also flow. So this is something, and that's what, it's the age of body and imitation, basically. We will not understand this. It's still later, and they're all. So this is something that I wanted to quickly show. We have some time, yeah. So this is something, it's where all the three things, by the way, if you guys have any question, please feel free to stop me and ask. These are this is like a comparison chart, right? So neuroscience, developmental psychology, and anthroposophy, they kind of say the same thing. Anthroposophy says, it's very poetic, like receive the children in reverence. So what is reverence? How do we respect our children? Because when we respect them, that's how they know that how to respect another individual. But unfortunately, you will see, you will see, as in there's a study, like more than 85% of a parent-child interaction, particularly in the early years, is that of command. We are always commanding children to do something, do this, do that. And that too also not in a very polite tone, because we have other things to do. So again, knowing this, it's the starting point. There is no, every time you encounter something like this, which is a little um heavy, my request is to not think, okay, oh, what wrong have I done and all that. That's not going to help either. It's just knowing it and starting somewhere, basically. And reverence also will be connected to secure attachment. So when we are respecting someone, we will pause, we will listen, we will respond. And secure attachment is that only. So sequential stage, Piaget, Erickson, these are all theories. They have, if you any of you are interested, I did a course on child development. So I just summarized everything into a document. I can share that in the group. Let me know if anyone want it. So they are basically theories. There's a lot of theories in developmental psychology. So again, bottom up brain wiring we discussed. And again, this is also staged thing. Play is sacred. So I was just before the session, I was discussing with Rishikesh that play is the only thing that happens in the first play, and imitation is the only thing that happens in the first 7 years. And it's very important that we as parents understand what is play. It's and you might question, because some people ask me that, is it that difficult, is it that complex? It is not complex at all. Obviously during our times, during our parents' time, they did not have to learn about all these things. It's because the world has changed in the last, I don't know, 30-40 years, and more so in the last few years, 10-15 years, where there we have a lot of noise, and that's why it has become complex. Once you understand what play is, you will understand that it could not be simpler. There is nothing really. So again, play is important. Rhythm and routine. When we have a rhythm, basically having rhythm is again that it it helps the body to stay grounded and feel secure. When we don't have a rhythm, there is a low level stress always. Like, I do not know what's coming next. And for a child, for an adult, it can still be, I think, manageable sometimes, not every day. For a child, it's a different ball game. That's why they melt down, basically, because they have little brains and they are still evolving. So it's very important that we have a rhythm. And by rhythm, it's not a routine again. It's rhythm is different. Now, if some of you want the rhythm thing again, we can do another course or another class or something. But it's very important that we understand that, we have the rhythm. Caregivers in our life, I think I have talked about it. Adults in our work is the hidden curriculum. So what this means in everyday life? Free play again. Free play means no instructions, not overstimulating toys, not toys with robotic sounds and too many features, uh, open-ended things, basically. So that helps, that actually nurtures open-ended play. And you will see that children can play with anything. I mean, these days we were having to send a shipment, and we got a big box. And unfortunately, we did not use that box. We use another box. And now my son, for the last 3 days, it has become his dump truck. And he's collecting things from everywhere, and that is his dump truck. And he's sitting in front. He has made that shape of the dump truck in the front, and he's just moving around the house. And there is nothing else that he's doing. I know this will last for maybe one more day, two more day, and that's why it is very important that we do not invest a lot of money in a lot of toys, because play is very simple and play is like this. Create rhythms, serve and return item, tend your own inner life. If we are not grounded, we won't be able to provide. So children can regulate only through co-regulation. What is co-regulation? When they are in a meltdown, when they are stressed, they need to latch on to a grounded nervous system, which is yours or the caregivers. Now, if the child is in meltdown and then we are shouting and we are losing it for some reason because it has triggered us in some way, then it's a very lose-lose situation. How we can stay grounded is, we should understand what is triggering us in this whole situation, and uh, how to better respond. And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, when your child is probably throwing a tantrum at 9 p.m., you have had a you have had a day, like a full adult day, which is normally with a lot of responsibilities and work. You cannot be your grounded self with by sheer willpower. It's just not possible, because willpower is a finite resource. So that's why it is very important to understand and ground down, again, like bottom up for ourselves also. Know the stage, like when we are telling our children to calm down, when we are telling our children to go to a separate room, calm down and come back when they are okay. And what we call that, we call that time something, I'm forgetting. Anyway, so do any of you know, like this method? No, we call it like we give this timeout. Timeout, right? So we give timeouts and all. They do not work, like if done. And now we should also know that these kinds of experiences will happen. It's not 100 on 100 every time. Sometime we will lose our temper. Sometimes we will not be able to be that grounded person, and that is okay. That is okay. Uh, it's okay as long as we go back and we repair. So there's a concept called repair after rupture. So if we have shouted, yelled, hit, behaved in a way which put the child into more stress, now that you know what puts a child into stress, it's very important to go back and repair that. Acknowledge the mistake, acknowledge that you lost it, and repair. So children will also know that, our parents are humans, and it happens that obviously it should not be a 4 and a 5, 4 on 5 every day. It can be 1 in 5 sometimes. And that's okay. I mean, we are all work in progress. Honor the nature. Chetna, do you want to ask something? You've been unmuting. If anyone wants to
No,
ask,
no, no, no.
no? Okay, okay. If anyone wants to ask anything, please do. So you know the stage, you know where your child is. Uh, 0 to 7 is the time when the child is developing the vocabulary to express themselves and also developing the nervous system to calm. So the more we are able to give them our grounded nervous system to help them calm down, later it helps them to emotionally regulate themselves better, because they operate from that worldview that the world is safe, it is secure, and I can come back. Those of us who have had parents who probably were not like that, not because they were bad people or something, they just did not know better and they were also adulting. We have difficulty in, coming back from like a emotionally dysregulated situation, and that shows basically. Yeah, so again, it's some of the, I think I will share the presentation. Uh, this is something, so Anthroposophy teaches that child in the first 7 years leaves. It's the same, you'll see it's the same thing, but just said in different language. So neuroscience shows parents' own attachment model shapes the children's brain structure. It shows that actually in neural imaging. And Anthroposophy says that the child in the first 7 years lives inside the mood of the adults around them. And this developmental psychology also confirms that this reflective functioning is one of the strongest predictors of a child's emotional health. So it's basically they are saying the same thing. And I will share this. This could be if you are into, if even if you are not into journaling, you can probably, you know, start thinking around these lines. If you're already doing very good, again, some reflection, or if you have any questions at this point, I think this would be the way to right time to start. um yeah, I think I have one thing that I wanted to share about, that serve and return in the beginning. If any of you have children between 0 to 3, um, you should always think about, if they are in daycares for long hours, that is something you should check, like, how many caregivers are there, because, that time, if the caregiver ratio is not good, caregiver to children ratio is not good, it will not be possible for the caregivers to do that serve and return to attend to the child. And that actually can have negative impact. That is something I had written down to share. I think that's it from my side. If you have any questions, I can take them. Anyone? Okay, all good.
So I
Yeah.
have one
Yeah,
question.
please tell me.
Um, so flashcards are a big thing everywhere right now,
Yeah.
and I know it goes very against Waldorf philosophy. I I was wondering because Waldorf says, the body is still coming into its own in the first 7 years. Does showing them flashcards help in any way in establishing those neural circuits or like,
No, no, nothing. Waldorf
no?
is no nothing. So, if you are considering flashcards, I suggest not just anthroposophy. Again, neuroscience and developmental psychology also says the same thing. So you can read that book. Einstein did not need flashcards or something like that. So it is no Waldorf, definitely no. Waldorf is all about actual real life things. So they will never tell you to show flashcards. I have done
So,
this with poor child, and no, I regret. But actually, it is not advisable at all. Particularly because flashcards. See, when a child, you can obviously introduce, see, Waldorf is against books also. Okay,
Right.
so right. So because not books as in books with images. Because they
Hmm.
say that those images then become a baseline for your child's imagination.
Imagination, yeah.
Right. So they say that your child, for you, like if you do not show your child what a princess looks like, right? Your child is very much capable of imagining what a princess looks like. And probably it could look like you, the mother. Because that's who he or she is seeing. And things like that. But I know the world that we are living in. What Montessori says is that you can introduce those books, board books, where the picture is realistic, not cartoons, not drawn by machines. So if you are
Mm.
showing, if you want to let them like spot vegetables, learn a lot of vegetables or whatever, like spend some time looking at books, it is a good idea, as in it's a better idea to show them books with realistic pictures. But flashcards, they do not really help as such.
So, like, there's this whole thing with the Domin method and how that's helped a lot of children who have, like, incomplete brain development, and how the flashcards help them get motor skills as well as speech. So they say if you use it on, like, the developed children without any issues at birth, that helps them. I don't know if you're familiar with the Domin method or if
No,
you've
I'm
heard
not
of it.
actually. I'll have to look into it. I'm not sure.
So there's this person called Glenn Domin, and
Dorman.
he writes, he has this institute. So it was primarily developed for, like, autistic children or
Hmm.
children with neurological disorders, where they
Hmm.
started the flashcards. But what they noticed was, when those children came with their younger siblings to these sessions, the younger siblings were also observing the flashcards being shown, and they developed at a much faster pace.
What kind of
So
flashcards?
it was anything, like just words or images or numbers, like patterns. So
Huh.
it helped
Okay.
in, like,
Okay.
pictorial
Yes. Yes.
representation.
So I'll tell you something. So if you want to, what happens in the first 3 years is the language development. That's a big part of the first 7 years, right? And that's where, uh, so Waldorf says storytelling. But
Hmm.
obviously, it might not be possible for all of us to tell stories. So it's a good idea to, I mean, I think the only benefit that, although I have to look into the Rodman method, I am not sure. But the way, what I understand from all the things that I have read and researched is that reading books, at least for my son, it helped him a lot in expressing himself. He has so much words, like he says so many words which are complicated, like which are not his age, because we have read a lot of books. So what I can say is that if you want your children to pick up vocabularies, and hardcore Waldorf is not possible for everyone, reading books is a good thing. And in the books there will be pictures, obviously, so the child will get exposed to it. But again, I'm not sure. I mean, I do not have the knowledge about the Dorman method as such, but it definitely helps. It could definitely, what I can see, matlab, understand from what you are saying is that it could definitely help in development of vocabulary, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we haven't done it, but I just
How
keep
old is your child?
wondering. She's 2.
Ah.
So it's
You see, I
because
mean,
I like
a
her
little
brain
bit.
is also developing. So I'm like,
How do I
it,
help?
yeah.
I know, I was there. So, some flashcards with related to new, vegetables and fruits with realistic pictures is something you can try. Why not?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I also don't want it to be where I'm forcing it on her, or it's not
Well,
fun for
she,
her,
if
but
she's interested, she will show. Like my son was interested in books from the very beginning. He would tear them. Those small board books that, I mean, that those were repaired like 10 times. He would tear pieces, he would play with them. Some of them became his, he started cooking them and all, but later, after 3 and all. But that's okay. Yeah. It's fine, no, don't overthinking. I mean, that's what, like, we need not be like completely perfect, is what I have understood. What we know is that real pictures help,
Okay.
and you can, maybe find a common ground. Do read books, but I feel that storytelling is not possible for all of us. Book reading is something that has helped, definitely, my child.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is, you speak about how the parent's attachment type becomes like the baseline for the child. So
Yeah.
obviously it's a work in progress, right? Because that's something I'm aware of only now and I have to work. So do you have any resources of how parents can do that inner work for themselves? Or do you have any suggestions for introductory Waldorf books that I can read?
See, inner work is a whole gamut of things. For me, journaling helped me a lot.
Okay.
So I will give you a little bit of my background. It's like I used to have like heavy anxiety, right? And I have taken therapy and all everything. And I think therapy helped. Thankfully, I was able to receive therapy. Not everyone can. But then, you stop therapy also at certain point. You can continue. I did not. My therapist said you are good to go. Don't need to continue. If you feel anytime, you can come back. So I stopped and I never went back. But then, motherhood comes with a lot of things also. Like, it's obviously our whatever we have gone through as children, as adults, or everything. And then there are hormones inside the body, particularly for mothers, I'm telling. So everything plays a role. So what helped me was journaling. Journaling helped me a lot. I journaled a lot. Journaling and meditation. Meditation also, it's um initially I used to do guided meditation. Then I used to just sit with my thoughts, and I slowly found my way. Now also there is a lot of variety that I keep trying. These are the two things that helped me in my inner work. And introductory material, Waldorf books does not really talk about as such. Waldorf is a lot about teaching. I somehow they talk very less about parents, but what I feel is that parents are the first teachers, and that's why it's very important that we understand all these things. I do not. I created a journal which delves into this, like people who are looking for, who do not know where to start, particularly for mothers. So if you're interested, I can share the link with you. See if it calls to you, then probably you can give it a try. That's it. I mean, I made that journal out of my experience. And I'm actually planning to have sessions like, like a monthly meetup with parents, who mothers who got that journal, so that we can all be in this together. So that's all I can say. I mean, meditation, journaling, and obviously, I mean, I do not know if you have an exercise regime or breath work, and all those things also help. Like, it's all bits and pieces, but everything helps.
Yeah, that is helpful. Thank you. And I love to see your journal
I'll I'll
template.
share I'll share the link with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome. Anyone else? Thank you, Parul, for the questions. When there are questions, it also makes me think. I learned something, Dorman method. I'll get into it. Anyone else? Any doubt? If you guys have any doubt, you can post in the group also. And yeah, I think that's it from my side. Rishikesh, are you there? I think you're there. Sure. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, okay. I think I'll stop sharing. Chalo, bye everyone. Thank you for joining. I might ask some of you to share some feedbacks. I mean, if it was helpful, what more are your expectations? I have also made like a list of questions and their probable answers. I'll share it in the group so that, if you have some questions, and that's it from my side. That's my son. Anyway, yeah, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.